Minasan, konnichiwa. Watashi wa Steve Grove desu, the Commissioner of the Minnesota Department of Employment and Economic Development. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules today to view this Minnesota presentation. I'd like to thank our partner Jetro for this opportunity to introduce the Minnesota Advantage to you. Now, more than ever, we have to encourage engagement with each other, and we truly appreciate this Jetro Digital Initiative on Investment USA to connect with you. We are all sharing in these unprecedented times with ongoing uncertainty around the world, but Minnesota is optimistic and we enjoy a healthy and stable economy here. In fact, we have generated a state budget surplus thanks to our innovative key industries so we can keep our economy moving forward. In a federal government study of 5-year business survival rates in the United States, Minnesota was ranked #1 in the country. And many global companies that you're familiar with, such as 3M, or the Mayo Clinic, the world's #1 ranked hospital, started here in the heartland and continue to grow here because of our amazing workforce and environment for growth. So it should not be surprising to any of you that Minnesota is home to over 30 of Japan's best companies, located in every corner of the state. And they represent a diverse economy, such as Takeda Pharmaceutical, Olympus Surgical, Daikin, Topham Printing, all operating here and prospering and expanding. And for the first time ever, we have seen Japanese companies in Minnesota exceed the number of major Minnesota companies in Japan, such as 3M, Ecolab, Honeywell, and Medtronic. So that's a real milestone for Japan, Minnesota businesses. In fact, just last year, Governor Walz chose Japan to be his first official foreign visit as governor. I accompanied him on that trip. We met so many of your great business leaders in Japan. And, it had personal significance for me because I lived in Japan over 20 years ago. It was my first job out of college. I lived in Tokyo and taught English, lived with a family there. The Takanos, they were an extraordinary family. We became very close. I saw Takano-san on my visit back, of course, and he's visited us here in Minnesota at our Department of Employment and Economic Development, too. In fact, he sent me this kind of funny snack with our picture printed on it because we had a moment in front of the Japanese flag at our department to celebrate the country's connection. So I have a personal connection to your country too, and we would be thrilled to bring more businesses to our state from Japan. We're the kind of state that, just like Japan, values those long-term friendships like Takano-san and I have had, and values integrity and collaboration as we work together. As an example of that spirit, we have a 20-year multi-billion-dollar public-private partnership in Mayo Clinic with state and city governments working together to provide stronger development and growth. This development is called the Destination Medical Center. Its purpose is really to become the premier healthcare destination in the entire world. It's a great example of government and community working together to build our economy much stronger here in our state. So really, our focus of our agency is developing an innovative workforce for the future. That's a personal passion of mine. And as your company considers putting down roots in America, we're happy to work with you to demonstrate the Minnesota advantage of our workforce, our supply chain, our logistics, innovation, and infrastructure. So please reach out to us if you're considering expansion opportunities in the U.S. Hontou ni arigatou gozaimasu, and have a great rest of your event. Thanks, everyone.
Hello, my name is Sarah Walbert. I am with the Minnesota Trade Office and I am regional manager, and my territory, I'm very pleased to say, includes Japan. Hello, Japan. First, I'd like to express my appreciation to Jetro for this opportunity. I am with the Minnesota Trade Office, and our mission is twofold: to help Minnesota companies export and also to support companies from all over the world. But my responsibilities are for Japan, to help Japanese companies as they look to invest in the United States, and we hope Minnesota. I'm looking forward to helping you discover Minnesota today. Here's a quick agenda of what I will be covering today. I know that it's not easy doing business in the United States. I know I have lived and worked on both the East and West Coasts. I hope by the end of this presentation that you will agree with the Minnesota advantage. Some of Japan's best companies, over 30 of them, are here already, joining 900 other foreign businesses because they have found Minnesota to be much more convenient and very collaborative. Our population is just under 5.7 million, which is about the size of Hyogogang, and it's only less than 2% of the total American population. However, in the past 10 years, we have grown 7.1% thanks to net positive migration of young people and immigrants. You may know that Americans love ranking our 50 states from best to worst in many categories. So I find it very interesting that after the last very stressful year of the pandemic that we shared around the world, Minnesota was called the least stressed state. We're number one in terms of the lowest stress level. So this is a very good place to live and work. Put another way, some of you may have heard that Denmark is the happiest country in the world. Well, analysts say that in America, Minnesota is one of the happiest places, and year after year, we rank in the top third happiest place, according to Wallet Hub. So speaking of ranking, Japan is our fourth largest trading partner. We have many deep historic ties with Japan, but significantly, in the 1960s, our iron ore was shipped to Japan's steel mills from northern Minnesota's Lake Superior, one of the 5 Great Lakes. Even before that, in 1955, the first sister city between Asia and America was established between Nagasaki and St. Paul, which is our capital city. Both St. Paul and Minneapolis are on the Mississippi River, basically across the river from each other. So that's why we have the nickname the Twin Cities. You've probably heard of the Major League Baseball team, the Minnesota Twins. Well, we are very excited to have Maeda Kenta join as an ace pitcher. The Mississippi River has been central to U.S. commerce historically and today, shipping commodities from Minnesota 4,100 kilometers down to New Orleans with stops in between. But Minnesota is the only state where the Mississippi River actually begins. Some of you may have visited this tourist spot. Near the Mississippi River in downtown Minneapolis, we are very fortunate to have an authentic kaiseki ryori restaurant. In fact, I'm very pleased to tell you that all of our Japanese restaurants have survived the pandemic shutdown. Of course, LA and San Francisco may have more restaurants, but they also have more earthquakes. We have no earthquakes. This map shows just a sampling of our daily nonstop destinations flying out of Minneapolis-St. Paul Airport, MSP Airport, before the pandemic. Minnesota's advantage, unlike California, New York, Boston, is that all of the major US hubs can be reached in a 3.5-hour flight to your other facilities in America or your customers. Internationally, we had convenient daily nonstop service to Tokyo's Haneda Airport and Seoul, Korea, as well as major European cities. This is one of the reasons why our small state has many corporate headquarters here. What has not changed since the pandemic is our convenient central time zone, which is efficient for making business and Zoom calls throughout America or for distribution systems, whether air, water, trucking, or railroad. Minnesota enjoys a diverse economy, which means economic stability, resulting in a budget surplus this year, even during the pandemic. We are also fortunate to be a major financial banking center, including the Federal Reserve Bank. So now to focus on several of our priority industries. Number one, our biggest industry is, of course, the life science sector. And within that, medical devices is actually the number one cluster in the United States. Our second largest industry is agriculture and food, including all the technologies that go with this. Third area is clean energy technologies. This is smaller but very fast growing. We just collaborated with Kurita Water, Kurita Kogyo, to do a virtual roundtable discussion with other companies here in Minnesota and with the university, as Kurita has now located its North American headquarters in Minnesota. Another sector is advanced manufacturing. Strong manufacturing technology and know-how is critical to making all of our key sectors successful. Of course, medical devices is huge. We also have several Japanese companies here in the semiconductor and related technologies. You may know about Daikin Kogyo, a big HVAC company, and they continue to expand their manufacturing and R&D facilities, especially to the south of the Twin Cities. And to the north of Minnesota, we have recently welcomed Yanmar, another big Japanese name. Another example of our specialty manufacturing sector is smart glass. The electrochromic glass by Sage Glass is actually being installed at Haneda's new terminal. And next, connecting the world through IoT has become essential to all sectors. And lastly, business services, of course, are essential, but our key strength is in the core technology and the data management underlying that. And we are also happy to have Topban Printing with their business printing expertise located in Minnesota. In terms of logistics, the largest is C.H. Robinson, number one in the US, and their headquarters are here. As you see, the Japanese companies listed. We also have the major Japanese logistics companies here, and I believe Nippon Express has been here in Minnesota for 30 or 40 years. So this diverse and stable economy is reflected in having the headquarters of many major corporations who started in Minnesota. Here are just a few of those logos. 3M, many of you know, is Minnesota Mining and Manufacturing. 3M has been a major collaborative partner with the state government in fighting COVID-19. Even though our economy is diverse, Minnesota's advantage is that we have a strong foundation in computing and software historically, a key factor in helping the medical industry grow to become Minnesota's number one sector and the number one cluster in America. Some say that Minnesota is the Silicon Valley of healthcare. It's true, but we are slightly different than Silicon Valley in California. One, Minnesota has the big major corporations here, not just the startups or venture business, as you say. Two, Minnesota has a reputation in the United States for our collaborative culture between industry, academia, and government, much like Japan. Three, we are also known for the Minnesota nice culture, compared especially to the East and West Coasts, and our humble attitude, which I believe we share in common with Japan. Now, today I'm going to put that humility aside and do some bragging to explain why our Governor Walz has said that Minnesota's medical ecosystem is the world renowned as the number one health technology innovation cluster. And by the way, I'd like you to know that our Minnesota governor chose Japan as his first official foreign trip. So why is Minnesota's ecosystem an advantage not only for medical devices, but across many emerging technologies? A few of the medtech emerging technologies are listed here. Our strength is from the three interlocking pieces, which applies to all of our priority industries. One, our strength is in the major pillars. These are the big corporations and organizations, and they are locally based or they have their headquarters here. Two is our supply chain. It's robust and it is local. Just for example, in the medical sector, 95% of the supply chain and the companies are located within a 50-kilometer radius. very convenient. And when we say supply chain, we mean both goods and services because the expert services are essential in this high-tech environment in which we all operate today. Thirdly, we have a very healthy startup community and many SMEs, small and medium-sized enterprises. All three of these pieces support and reinforce each other, and they feed each other. To focus for a minute, let's take a look at the medical devices sector. I will not read this entire list, but here are a few highlights. Minnesota is very fortunate to have the world's #1 best hospital system, Mayo Clinic, right here in Rochester, Minnesota. We also have the world's largest medical device company. Medtronic was founded in Minnesota. You'll see in the chart that of the top 20 largest medical device companies, 15 have a presence here in Minnesota. We also have 1,000 other healthcare related companies. You'll see some of the major logos below. And lastly, we have 10 major hospital systems. It's very similar to Mayo Clinic. So this is just a snapshot of the Minnesota's excellence that has contributed to improving the health and lives of people everywhere. And by the way, all are significant partners in the fight against COVID-19. One more highlight, the largest medical device industry association is also in Minnesota called the Medical Alley Association with 600 members, including some of the major companies from Europe. And recent members, I'm pleased to say, include Olympus Surgical and Takeda Pharma, which both have major operating facilities in Minnesota. Those of you who live in the US probably know about Best Buy Electronics retail chain, and you might wonder why they are part of the Medical Device Industry Association. Well, they are collaborating on a very interesting initiative. Best Buy now has, this retail chain now has a chief medical officer whose job is to focus on digital healthcare. For example, they are developing health monitoring services to help seniors stay in their home as they age. An important academic pillar is, of course, the University of Minnesota, a major research center. Shown here is the lab at the Bakken Medical Devices Center, the MDC. Several Japanese companies have sent visiting engineers here to train and develop new inventions and gotten patents. The MDC has many other initiatives, but if you are exploring the US medical market, I highly recommend the annual DMD conference, the Design of Medical Devices conference held annually in April. And it is a demonstration of academic industry collaboration and the latest in medical technology with over 1,000 companies participating. This year, the event is virtual, so it's a very easy opportunity for you to participate. And they are hosting a special forum this year on the AI and medical devices sector. There are many other opportunities to collaborate with the university's 5,000 faculty in different areas. For example, the Stem Cell Institute is the oldest in the United States here in Minnesota. Moreover, we are privileged to have 6 research doctors from Japan researching some of the areas as you see on your screen, from cancer to stem cells. The Stem Cell Institute has a business incubator and also a foundation focused on commercializing new discoveries, and both of these are open to companies from the outside. I will just pause here to note that in the Japanese translation of the PowerPoint that is available for your viewing, I have included a few additional slides for those who are interested in Minnesota's medical ecosystem. Thanks to this ecosystem, Minnesota has an exciting, active startup scene or venture business with many pitch events and competitions supported by the state government, the university, and industry in complete collaboration. So it's interesting, therefore, to note that the federal government's Bureau of Labor Statistics analyzed 5-year business survival rate of startups. And of course, Minnesota came in number one as the best place for startup business survival. So if your company is looking for new technologies and innovative small companies, perhaps to do an M&A or small investment or collaboration, if this is of interest to you, our office can direct you to resources and how to find them. Or if you are ready to set up a liaison office or an incubator or an R&D lab, there are several ways that we can help you make your arrival a soft landing. Shown here are just a few examples, and most of these began as public-private partnerships. And I know the people here, and they welcome international companies. Just for example, you see Incubology. This was a former 3M facility, so it is top class in their labs and office space. Next is UEL. The old name was University Enterprise Laboratories. This is focused more on biotech labs, but also medical and private offices. I mentioned already the University Stem Cell Institute's incubator. This is not pictured here. And then if we drive 90 minutes down south towards Rochester, Minnesota, you will find the Mayo Business Accelerator. This is for the really, truly early stage companies. And then they can graduate in the same building, the Minnesota Bio Business Center, to the incubator, where several European companies have already started businesses. Mayo Clinic, I would like to note, is also involved in the largest PPP, public-private partnership, collaborating with the state government, city government, industry in a very big development project of $5.6 billion over the next 20 years in Rochester, Minnesota. The goal is to create the world's premier health destination city. You see One Discovery Square there. This was part of phase 1 and it is open already. And of course, they would welcome your company. In closing, I'd like to briefly highlight some of our financial programs to support companies. I mentioned research labs, for example, if this is something your company is contemplating, or even advanced manufacturing facility. Minnesota has an R&D tax credit at the state level in addition to the federal level. So basically it's 10% on the first $2 million of your research expenses. And then thereafter, it is 2.5% of a tax credit. As for other incentives, it's the same whether your company is originally from Minnesota or California or Japan or anywhere else. Minnesota's policy is to support companies who invest in growth in our state. Generally, the incentives are based on the one hand with the company's investment amount. On the other hand, it's the number of new jobs created and the weight of those jobs, which means the pay. So in other words, if you hire more engineers compared to assembly line workers, for example, more incentives are given in the form of low interest loans, sometimes forgivable, or grants, including training grants. And speaking of training, a key concern for many companies coming to Minnesota, but also Minnesota companies, is finding workers. We collaborate with local regional partners, technical colleges, universities, and high schools to fully utilize their state-of-the-art technical training programs. Or we make a program to train your workers for our key employers. Also, we have many tax incentives to reduce your business costs. And just for example, there are tax exemptions, especially related to sales tax that go into manufacturing and other processes. In terms of the corporate income tax rate, Minnesota only considers sales that you have in our state as revenue. So if you have a production facility in Minnesota, but the majority of your product is sold in the other 49 states, this likely means that you will have lower income taxes. We would be happy to provide incentive details specific to your project. My colleagues at the state and local level have worked together on all of the Japanese companies that I've mentioned so far to support their expansion plans into Minnesota. Our local communities, who also provide tax breaks, they are very eager to welcome you. If you are interested in learning more how Minnesota can be an advantage for your company, please do contact us. In Tokyo, we have a very strong partner at our Minnesota Trade Office Japan office, led by Mr. Kumori or me here in St. Paul. We will do our best to make it a soft landing for you. Thank you.